When Barack Obama was elected president, this was quickly hailed as a historic breakthrough. As the first person of color in the nation's highest office, he was for many a symbol of new frontiers and equal opportunity. It can also be said that any changes in opportunity for people across the board have been less dramatic, or at least more gradual. And when Obama gave his inaugural address in January, what many remembered first was his call for responsibility. Speeches have a way of echoing in the mind, but they also can generate responses. And one response was written by a man in prison and given voice in a production by Press Pass TV. It's called Obama, Answer This. Joining us are one of the contributors, Boston rapper Letia Larock, and from Press Pass TV, the co-director of the program and operations, Joanna Marinova. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start with Joanna Marinova. Talk about the people that we don't see in this video and how it came about.
Well, you know, Obama is known as the leader of the free world, yet America has more people behind bars than any other nation in the world. And 97% of these men are coming back to our community. The question then becomes, how are they coming back to our community? Because currently prisons are breeding nothing more than anger, racism, and hatred that's released back onto our street. And we agree with the police commissioner when he said that a lot of the violence that we see in Boston is directly linked to what's happening behind bars. And since the 1960s, no president has made an address on crime. And if Obama can address school children and terrorists, then he should be able to address this issue. And if he's able to go to Guantanamo and look into that situation, he should look into what's happening behind bars right here in the United States.
Let's see, one thing you have done is you've gone as a performer to prison. What was that like for you?
I mean, that was a great experience, you know, being able to be one-on-one with the inmates and entertain, and also, you know, have them share their thoughts afterwards. It was a great experience, you know, and I know that they appreciated, you know, me and the other artists that actually took time to come out and, you know, perform for them. So it was a good experience. It was great.
Back to Joanna Marinova, the way this was written, when I saw it the first time, I didn't think this was written by one person who wasn't there. I thought that each of the contributors had their own little zone that they worked on. It seemed to fit that tightly.
It was actually a very interesting process of putting it together. It was directed by Renee Dongo, who's a teen from Boston Public Schools, who's now at Emerson. It was produced by Press Pass TV. We engaged various artists throughout the Boston community, and it was written by community activist currently incarcerated Daryl Jones. So it was a very unusual collaboration of sorts, and we wanted to bring out each of the artists' personal contribution and what they felt through it, because all of us have somebody that we know or love that's incarcerated.
Let's talk a little bit about the excerpt we're going to bring up, because it starts off with a reference that I remember before from some stories about what the president had on his playlist.
Yeah, he mentions in the piece that you guys are about to see, Daryl mentions, you know, Obama listening to Jay-Z and, you know, in his iPod, but then he also mentions how kids are also listening to this, you know, different music, but it's like spiritual iPods that's kind of feeding them. And he also goes into talking about different holidays and how, you know, most people are celebrating holidays, you know, with family, that some people are burying family members. And it's pretty deep, and it's definitely something that I think, you know, it'll make a lot of people think, you know, the whole piece.
Bring it up right now.
Mr. President, you have Jay-Z on your iPod. Daily, I see many very young males walking around with spiritual iPods that are playing in their hearts the words of the notorious B.I.G., saying you're nobody till somebody kills you. Yet two things are clear. Sadly, Biggie did become bigger in death, and that many of these kids who have never seen their families together during a Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner meet them for the first time in a casket with their eyes closed at a funeral. In your inaugural speech, you say what is required of us now is a new era of responsibility, a recognition on the part of every American that we have duties to ourselves, our nation, and the world. Does that us mean me? Does that duty of we include those who are born into shackles of poverty, incarceration, or, as your predecessor said, the soft bigotry of low expectations?
Let's see, one of the things I found really gripping in the segment that you did was talking about the aspirations that were channeled into young people from the spiritual iPods, as you call them, and what they could look forward to, and that message that you're nobody unless you're dead.
Yeah, and those are lyrics that he mentioned from a song that Notorious B.I.G., which has passed away due to violence, recited. And it's like, you know, when you're listening to these things, easily, you know, it can also process within your thought within your thoughts. So that him mention, I mean, I was kind of in awe as I was reading it myself, like, wow, you know. So yeah.
Joanna, what about some of the response? This has been circulating on the net. What's been happening?
We've been getting a lot of good positive responses. We're featured in the UN Film Festival and the North End Film Festival. And I think the main response is that we tend to look at incarcerated people as this forgotten society that we don't really think about on an everyday basis. And that's been the main response. It's triggered a lot of emotions in people and what it means to be responsible in this society, and that who's part of this community and what makes up community indeed.
One other thing I saw behind this piece in the shadow, since this, in a sense, is a letter from President, the famous letter from jail by Martin Luther King, 1963. Anybody think of? I know there are different situations and different messages, but there is that much in common between them. This is a case that you've got a message that affirms values and questions values.
Absolutely. I mean, the truth is that Emancipation Proclamation left slavery intact in prison. So slavery still exists behind bars. It's completely legal. And it's no secret that most people behind bars are Latino and Black males. So we're talking about the turning over of an entire culture. So when we say President Obama, the question is, whose president is he?
Letia, what about some of the things that you've seen in response to this? Have you thought about any of it at all in terms of...
I mean, well, me personally, I have a sibling that's incarcerated. So, I mean, when I received the phone call and, you know, and the request to do this, it wasn't a question, because I know that there are individuals and, you know, also, you know, my relative that are behind bars that do have a voice, but unfortunately, you know, because of the situation, they're not able to be heard. So when the opportunity presented itself, I definitely made sure I was, you know, available to speak on it. So personally, it also does move me because of, you know, so yeah.
Joanna, this is also very timely because you're trying to do something at the State House, trying to get the governor and the state legislature to listen a bit more about reform around criminal records disclosure.
Absolutely, like everything ties into everything, Corey reform, etc. But you know, Corey reform is not going to help if the spirit of hopelessness is prevailing. So no amount of Corey is going to help if you come out and you don't feel like you're part of the society, you don't know what it means to be part of a community. And if there's no positive reinforcement given to these inmates that are bettering their lives, that are improving, because indeed we should have a correctional system. And is this system working? And currently I don't believe it is.
Letia, anything ever crossed your mind? What if the president answered this, or do you think he should answer?
I think he should answer it, you know, because I don't think that, I mean, a lot of the stuff that was mentioned could also be from an average teen or anyone just walking the streets, you know. It is questions, it is things that I'm sure is on a lot of youth's mind in general, so I think, he should respond.
And finally,
and to this.
To this. And finally, Joanna, we should tell the viewers one more time, if they want to see this on the net, where to go?
It's pretty easy. It's ObamaAnsweredThis.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us, Letia Larock and Joanna Marinova. Up ahead, the report from the Fenway with Mary Finn.
Good job. You're so good.
I'm like listening to you like, yeah.